Play to people's fantasies. Offer fantasies that are impossible to attain but compelling to believe in. This is the 30-second law to power from Robert Greene. Imagine a politician standing before a vast crowd, painting a picture of a future just within reach, a land of prosperity, justice, and greatness. The vision is grand, almost too good to be true, yet the people are captivated. Today, we will explore one more loophole in our fascinating minds. As you know, this book, The 48 Laws of Power, is banned in many places for its controversial stance. But unfortunately, truth is often dark, and it is also a reason why our channel is blacklisted. You won't see any of our videos crossing the subscriber level, so give us like if you think YouTube community should see this video. And please don't get me wrong, we may sometimes say something that doesn't really go with the mass audience. We totally understand that. Chapter 1. The Allure of the Unattainable. Human beings are creatures of desire. We chase dreams that shimmer on the horizon, just out of reach, believing that their attainment will complete us. This longing is a fundamental part of our nature. It drives us to create, to innovate, and to push beyond our limitations. Yet, it also makes us vulnerable. When faced with the ordinary, we lose interest, but when presented with the extraordinary, our minds ignite with fascination. This is where the power of fantasy comes into play, offering someone a vision of something grand, something they cannot touch but can almost believe in, can be a profound source of influence. People are drawn to these illusions because they offer an escape from the mundane. It's not the reality that captivates, but the possibility, however slim, that they might one day grasp what they seek. In a way, this aligns with the Stoic understanding of desire and aversion. Stoicism teaches us to recognize the futility of longing for what we cannot control, but it also shows us the power of these desires, how they can be used to guide and influence others. By presenting fantasies that align with someone's deepest wishes, we can direct their actions without force, leading them down a path we've subtly laid out. This law is not about deception, but about understanding the psychological landscape of human beings. We live in a world shaped by our perceptions, not by truth alone. To play to people's fantasies is to tap into their innermost desires and guide them with the promise of something greater. It's the art of creating a vision so compelling that reality pales in comparison. A vision that only you, the architect, can bring them closer to. Chapter 2. The Jungle. The human mind is often fascinated by fantasies. These imagined realities can be more powerful than the truth, shaping decisions, beliefs, and actions. A prime example of this can be seen in the realm of politics, especially within democratic systems. Politicians are masters of the art of influence. They know that people are motivated by visions of a better future, even if that future is unrealistic or nearly impossible to achieve. In democracies, leaders often present grand visions, promises of prosperity, justice, or national greatness that tap into the deepest desires of the populace. These promises are crafted not just to inspire, but to influence and control. The vision may be over the top, nearly unattainable, but it's made to seem within reach, just enough to stir hope and allegiance among the masses. This strategy becomes particularly evident in times of political transition, especially when a democracy teeters on the edge of dictatorship. As leaders seek to consolidate more power, they often employ fantasies of national rebirth or extraordinary progress, persuading the public that only they can lead the way. By inflaming collective desires, they gain the power to reshape systems, often at the expense of democratic principles. This use of fantasy isn't limited to politics. It's a technique seen in many areas where control and influence are sought. It highlights a crucial aspect of human psychology. People are more easily led by the idea of what could be rather than what is. Understanding this allows those in power to subtly direct the course of events, presenting themselves as the gatekeepers to a brighter, though often illusory, future. For those who seek power, the lesson is clear. Present a vision so compelling that it overshadows reality, and people will follow. This isn't about lying, but about shaping perceptions in a way that aligns with one's goals. By mastering this art, leaders can steer entire nations, organizations, or even small groups, influencing them to act in ways that serve a larger purpose. It's the delicate balance of maintaining the illusion just enough to keep it believable, while steadily guiding others towards the path you've designed. Chapter 3. Psychological Landscape of Desire. Desire is a force that shapes much of our behavior. It is rooted deep within the human psyche, driving our decisions, relationships, and aspirations. To understand how fantasies can be used for influence, we must first explore the psychological terrain where these desires originate. At its core, desire is often about more than just wanting something. It's about the gap between what we have and what we imagine. This gap creates a tension, a feeling of incompleteness that we strive to resolve. Whether it's the longing for wealth, love, or power, the fantasies we build around these desires are potent tools for shaping our actions. Psychological studies, such as the work by Abraham Maslow in 1943 on the hierarchy of needs, reveal that once basic needs are met, humans are driven by higher aspirations, self-esteem, recognition, and self-actualization. It is at these higher levels that fantasies become particularly influential. They offer a glimpse of a better self or a better world, and in doing so, they motivate us to strive towards that vision. But there is a darker side to this landscape. Our desires can make us vulnerable to manipulation. The mere suggestion of something better, something just beyond our reach, can be enough to guide our thoughts and actions. This is where the power of fantasy truly lies. It taps into the unfulfilled desires that lie dormant within us, offering a solution, a promise that we can be more than we are. To use this law effectively, one must become a master of understanding human desires. By recognizing what people yearn for, what they believe they lack, you can craft a vision that speaks directly to those needs. This is not about promising the impossible, but about offering something that feels just out of reach, something they must pursue, something they must trust you to help them achieve. In doing so, you position yourself as the key to fulfilling their deepest longings. The fantasy becomes a guiding star, one that leads them in the direction you want them to go, often without them realizing it. This subtle yet powerful influence is what makes fantasies such a valuable tool in the quest for control and power. Just a quick reminder, if you're enjoying this video, please consider like and subscribe, and thanks a lot if you did already. Moving on. Chapter 4. Framing Reality. Illusions have always held a unique power over the human mind. They distort reality in ways that captivate us, drawing us into a world where possibilities seem endless and boundaries fade away. In the context of influence and control, illusions serve as a bridge between desire and action, transforming fantasies into something that feels almost tangible, almost real. An illusion doesn't need to be a lie. In fact, the most effective illusions are those that contain a kernel of truth. They build upon reality, enhancing it, making it more appealing, more alluring. When a leader or an influencer understands this, they can craft illusions that resonate deeply with people's desires. The illusion becomes a lens through which they view the world, a lens that subtly guides their thoughts, decisions, and ultimately their behavior. Consider how advertising works. It rarely sells a product directly. Instead, it sells an illusion, a lifestyle, an identity, a promise of happiness or success. The product becomes secondary to the illusion it represents. This same principle applies to the broader arena of influence. When you create an illusion that aligns with what people already desire, you can steer them toward the outcomes you want. The ancient Stoics, though wary of illusions, understood the power of perception. They taught that while we cannot control external events, we can control how we perceive them. But here lies the twist. Those who understand how to shape perceptions can, in turn, shape reality for others. By controlling the narrative, by crafting the illusion, you become the architect of how others see the world. To harness this power, you must be aware of the thin line between illusion and delusion. An illusion, carefully maintained, keeps people engaged and motivated, but if pushed too far, it can break, leading to disillusionment and distrust. The art of wielding illusion lies in balance, presenting a reality that is enhanced, not entirely fabricated, and ensuring that the fantasy remains believable. The power of illusion is not about deceit. It's about creating a vision so compelling that it draws others in. It's about shaping the way they perceive their desires so they align with your goals. In this way, you lead them, not by force, but by the allure of something greater. Chapter 5. Harnessing Fantasy for Control. To truly understand the power of fantasy is to recognize its potential as a tool for control. Fantasies are more than just dreams. They are blueprints for influence, capable of shaping the actions and beliefs of others. When wielded with precision, they become the means by which one can direct the course of events, subtly guiding others toward desired outcomes. Control, in this context, is not about domination or coercion. It's about steering the ship without the passengers ever realizing their course has been charted by someone else. This is the essence of soft power, the ability to influence and direct through subtle suggestion and the careful construction of compelling visions. To harness fantasy effectively, one must first listen deeply to the unspoken desires of those they wish to influence. What do they long for? What do they fear? Once these are understood, the fantasy can be crafted to align with these emotions, offering a solution or a path that seems to promise fulfillment or escape. In politics, business, and even personal relationships, those who master this law become leaders of thought and action. They offer not just ideas, but visions, narratives that captivate the imagination and drive people to act. It's a technique seen in great leaders throughout history, who have inspired movements and shaped nations not through force, but through the power of an idea, a fantasy that resonated with the collective psyche. However, the ethical use of this power must always be considered. Stoicism reminds us of the importance of virtue and integrity, while fantasy can be a tool for good, guiding others toward positive change. It can also be misused, leading people astray with false hopes and impossible dreams. The responsibility lies with the one who wields this power to ensure the fantasies they craft serve a purpose greater than mere manipulation. Ultimately, to harness fantasy for control is to understand the delicate balance between reality and illusion. It's about creating a vision that is not only compelling, but also meaningful. By doing so, you can inspire others to follow, not because they are forced, but because they are drawn by the allure of something greater, a future that, with your guidance, seems just within reach. This is the true power of fantasy, the ability to lead others by the strength of their own desires, turning their dreams into your reality.